Welcome back, everyone. If you're a voter, you know that just because a presidential candidate captures the most votes nationwide doesn't necessarily mean they will win the election. To win the presidency, it's all about who can rack in the most electoral college votes. And with the electoral college comes our swing states. I spoke with KRQE political expert Gabe Sanchez about what a swing state is and who the swing states are this go around in this unprecedented election. Joining us once more, we have KRQE's political expert, Professor Gabe Sanchez. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I love having your insight on all of the politics that's happening right now in the middle of a huge election. We talked about unprecedented numbers when it comes to voters coming out and casting a ballot. This time around, though, I want to talk about electoral college and those swing states. What states do we need to look out for?
So early in the evening, the states that I would pay close attention to are Pennsylvania and Florida. Pennsylvania is key for President Trump. In fact, most of us suggest if he loses Pennsylvania, which we should hear about pretty early in the evening, his paths to victory become much tighter. So that's one key state to keep an eye on. Florida, always critical. And you're seeing how much time both candidates are spending in that state trying to mobilize voters down the home stretch. Florida could have huge consequences. We're all anticipating President Trump should win that state. If he doesn't, it's going to be a long night for Republicans. A little bit closer to home as we get later in the evening, a couple of states I would pay close attention to, Texas and Arizona. We'll start with Arizona. Arizona's key battleground state, and it's supposed to be a bellwether state for how things might look across the rest of the country. So that's a state I would pay close attention to, very similar to us in demographics, one of the fastest growing states in terms of population. So what's interesting about Arizona is either candidate is essentially going to say if they win that state, I'm not only winning some of the key battleground states out east or in the Midwest, but I'm actually winning in the West, and I'm winning a state that's going to look like the future. I think that's a key narrative for either candidate. And Texas, I mean, in my lifetime, I never thought that Texas would be this competitive for Democrats in a presidential race. So if Democrats can actually win the state of Texas, not only does that bode well for Team Biden, but also for the long-term prospects of Democratic and Republican politics. That state flipping really changes the electoral map, really for all elections moving forward.
You know, I know polls have been out, and what are you seeing as far as who they're predicting to take this road to the White House?
Well, all pollsters, myself included, see Biden with a pretty significant advantage, both in terms of polling, but also in terms of the early vote numbers. Democrats, including here in New Mexico, have huge advantages with the early vote and particularly mail ballots. Here in New Mexico, to give you some context, Democrats have slightly over 100,000 vote advantage. Now, we don't know how these folks voted. All we know is they cast a ballot and what is their registered party. So assuming people vote based on party, which they usually do, Democrats have a huge advantage like they do everywhere else in the country. So the major question is turnout on election day. If Democrats have reasonable turnout and they surge in some of those key states that I mentioned, like Texas, Democrats and Biden should win pretty easily. However, we've seen in 2016, right, some of the polls weren't accurate. There's a lot of question marks in terms of what turnout could look like, particularly for Democrats, because they're more likely to be afraid of catching the virus while voting at the polls. So if Republicans have a huge wave on election day, not only could they make up a lot of that ground, but they could actually swing things in President Trump's favor. We'd be calling him the comeback kid, right? We'd be saying that essentially he's beaten the pollsters in 2 straight elections. Wouldn't that be something?
And with that being said, it may come down to the last final states. How many electoral votes does New Mexico have that our voters are voting for today?
Well, New Mexico only has 5 electoral votes. So on its face, a lot of voters might say, well, with that few electoral votes, do we even matter? Are we consequential? I'll remind folks, however, once upon a time, 2000, 2004, even 2008, even with only 5 electoral votes, we were a big deal because we were a close bellwether state and it was tight election races. And so we could actually come into play and be significant, especially if this thing is much tighter than a lot of pollsters are suggesting. Those 5 votes could actually mean the difference in a close race.
You know, Gabriel, we're down to about 45 seconds, so I'm going to give you 20 seconds on both of the candidates. Under a Trump administration, what is New Mexico going to look like? Under a Biden administration, what does New Mexico look like?
You know, I think that's the key question as we get into the final hours. So if President Trump wins a second term, I would expect a lot more of what we've seen from the president over the last 4 years. For the context of New Mexico, I would expect a lot more pressure on our governor to open up businesses. That's been a key campaign message for him. His response to the coronavirus is essentially focus on the economy. So particularly for small businesses out there, that could bode very well. Also, President Trump has made clear if he wins, it's going to be the end of the Affordable Care Act. So I think New Mexicans out there have to think about what that might mean for them individually. We don't have a ton of direct information about what his health care plan will look like, but it will look a lot different than the Affordable Care Act. On the flip side, if former Vice President Biden would happen to win, I would expect a lot more federal aid, right? We will see huge amount in the next care package from the federal government. Some are saying as much as $2 to $3 trillion. So our state's economy, city economies across the state struggling right now, that infusion of cash would be huge for the state. And then also, he was essentially part of the architect team for the Affordable Care Act. So not only will they keep it if he wins, they will probably expand it. So for New Mexicans out there struggling with access to health insurance, that would be a positive.
Gabriel, thank you so much again for joining us. Great insight on what's happening on this election day.